Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. There's a lot of people who want to pursue some type of journey. They want to be a business owner, they want to be a bodybuilder, they want to be some type of athlete, they want to aspire for more in their life than a 9-to-5 job. Which, don't get me wrong, those jobs are fine. They meet a need when the need is presented. But what can happen so often is someone who does desire more gets stuck in that position because it's comfortable, it's easy, and it's dependable. But those three things can make an individual very weak, and it's not like you're going to go without any degree of suffering or pain, right? Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And so if you can maybe put aside the thought that the security and the benefit of having a consistent income, which deflates as the economy inflates, maybe you could get more. Maybe you could achieve greater things. Maybe you could unleash a dream that you've had deep inside of yourself, nestled there for years, that you've never let come to fruition because of the fear that you might not be successful. This happens a lot with people who want to start posting content, is that they talk about it and ideate and want to do this so bad, but unfortunately they never end up posting anything. And usually it's because the fear of judgment, the fear of what your family might think, the fear of having failure. But again, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. It doesn't matter what you do in life, you're going to experience so much pain. You could experience pain in different ways too. Your friends passing, arguments, this laying off. Lots of people are being laid off right now. Your mortgage increasing because insurance rates increased, or your mortgage insurance increased, or taxes, property taxes increased, right? There's going to be pain no matter what you do in life, even if you have one stable component of it. If you're not happy, if you know that there's more out there for you, if you know that you have something that you've desired to do, that you want to give the world, that you want to create, go create it. The only thing stopping you is truly that fear of pain. But my point with this is that you're going to have pain. It's going to be there if you try to avoid it or try to stay comfortable or not. It might get more severe. It might get more severe when you choose a path that's far different than what the norm is. And I think this is okay. It's a learning experience. You learn through pains. Growing pains are a real thing, as when you're 10 compared to 30 years old. It doesn't matter where you are, it matters what you're doing. And if you constantly hide yourself from doing the things that you need to be better, that you want to do, to get the things that you desire, you're never going to truly have satisfaction. And I would much rather have tried and failed 1,000,000 times than to have never tried at all, knowing that all it could have been for me to be what I want to be was just simply putting the effort forth. And I hear so many people talk about, well, I could do this, but, or I wish I would have had done this, but, or I know I can do this and I have the skills, but it's harder than it really seems. And those are just, they're misguided beliefs, and they're very limiting. You might be very right. You could be truly correct in saying that, yes, something is maybe hard. It's not the right time. Maybe it's never going to be the right time. But at the end of the day, is it really? I mean, is any time the right time for anything? Is any point in your life going to make something an easier feat than not? And in fact, is trying to escape doing something when it is harder a good idea? Because then you never really learn how to go through the hard times when you need to. And they are going to inevitably come. If you constantly have this escapism on trying to protect yourself from being discomfortable, you're never going to get where you need to go, and it's a very hard truth. But if you can learn to weather the storm, walking the path that you choose to walk, it's so much easier to follow that path in the hardest of storms, but then when the weather cools down. Imagine now you're trekking at 2 times the speed of when the storm was difficult, when things were hard, when the trauma was heavy. But you learned and you adapted. But if you only just avoided the storms and you set up camp and you waited it out and you constantly took your time, you would have never really learned the hardest course. You'd have never really learned how to do the things you want to do, even when it's fucking hard. And this is where so many people go wrong. Your journey isn't built to be an easy one. It is built to be inevitably a long one. And to be honest, if you're telling a story to people about your life, what's going to make the better story? The guy who waited until everything was just right, had no strategic plan, and suddenly, serendipitously, the world fell into his lap and he became a millionaire. Or he got the body of his dreams because a magic pill just randomly got sent his way that changed his body for life. Or is the person who completely took responsibility for their deficits as a human being and changed everything about themselves because they knew what needed to be done. They didn't neglect the fact. They didn't neglect the pain, the sacrifice, that dissatisfaction that they had to fix. They faced it head on. They had challenges. They went through the hero's circle. They started somewhere that is known and comfortable. They broke the barrier into the unknown and uncomfortable, and they faced dragon after dragon beating them, and then came back to the boon, came back to the normal world, having the experience that they gained taking the hard path, which now makes the normal world seem like much more of a trivial feat. But if you constantly hide yourself from that pain, that discomfort, that dissatisfaction, if you constantly ignore what you need to be doing on a daily basis, you will constantly fail backwards. You will constantly be stuck in asking yourself why. You will constantly feel like you have to compare yourself to others, and yet you don't have your own comparison of joy. You don't have the ability to stack yourself up in society and feel like I've done it, because you haven't. And that's one of the most tragic things, especially when you break your own goals, when you let yourself down. I don't care about who you're proving yourself to. That really doesn't matter. It might be a good leverage for you to start moving. But at the end of the day, if you let yourself down, that's the most tragic event that you can possibly put yourself into. It's the most traumatizing. It's the most dehumanizing. And so many people do it. You fail yourself. But if you just held yourself to the goal, if you just kept yourself accountable, you would be miles ahead of everyone else. The bar is set relatively low in society. It really is, and you can do more just by accepting that pain and discomfort are going to be a process of life. And you can choose to accept a little bit or tolerate a lot, with the understanding that usually the grass is greener on the other side. And the longer that you walk a path that submits you to pain, usually the fewer people you'll find as you walk that path. And the further you go, the less people. You keep walking, there's less people. And eventually, people become so scarce, far and few between, that you are a commodity. You're a rarity. You're unique. People start asking you, how'd you get here? But you'll never know what that's like until you try. Don't be afraid of pain. Don't be afraid of experiencing discomfort in life. Don't be afraid of taking the risk. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying to bet on cryptocurrency or go gamble at a casino, but I'm talking about with your life as a general human being. Take the risk of going to the gym. Take the risk of posting this content. Take the risk of actually trying to start a business, publish an LLC with your local government. Set up a payment processor. Build the business suite that you want. And you might say, I don't know how to do these things, coach. It's too easy. It's not hard. And people are going to say, it's so hard. This guy's just talking. He's an asshole. It's really easy. We have Google. We have general intelligence that can tell you just about anything whenever you need it to. Setting up a business suite can be one of the easiest things you can do. Of course, technology development is difficult, but that's why most of what people use these days has already been developed and they're just licensing it from another person. It's so easy to get started at something, and you don't have to be a millionaire, and you don't have to be even $100,000 heir. If you're making 50 grand a year with a business that you've created, you know how satisfying that is? You're independent. You have no one to call to. You are your own man, and you've created something, a brand for yourself. You've created a tangible thing that is you, a part of you that is impacting the world. And if most people could feel that feeling and understand how much that can truly mean, they might actually truly understand what human nature is to be, which I think clearly, in my definition, is to be a creator. No, not social media, while it is an avenue of approach. I'm talking about creating things, the genesis of ideas, the creation of concepts and putting them into reality. This is what we were meant to do. And instead, many people get stuck into a box of the mundane, the trivial, the exhaustion. And one thing holds true. On your own path, like I said, there's probably going to be more pain. It'll be exhausting, far more exhausting than a 9 to 5, but the exhaustion is far different. It's far more worth it. It's far more lucrative, and it's far more satisfying. Because every minute, every hour you spend working on the thing that you've created is something that is actually invested in your intellectual property, in your consensus of intellect. I'm not delusional. I just have so many people who ask me how I traveled the world, how I got out of the military, how I, made a living for myself pretty quickly. And it's work, man. I knew I didn't belong there, man. I knew I didn't. Something felt so off about just falling in line. And don't get me wrong, I loved the military. I loved the brothers and sisters I met there. I loved the people that I served with. I loved the experiences that I had. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I knew I could do more. I could aspire for more. I could create. I could set a path for myself instead of having one put down for me. I could pave my own way instead of walking a cobbled road that's been trampled on for decades. And so people, they always get curious because they're on the rails and they don't know how to get off. It's a smooth ride, but it's a long and unchanging ride. And if you like that, that's totally fine. There's no issues. If that's the dream you've aspired to, keep doing it because you've achieved something that I certainly haven't, which is a dream. I'm working towards it, but that's what I want. I know just because I talk to a lot of you, so many of you, I know it's what a lot of you want. So I don't know, maybe this helps somebody. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I am absolutely coping on life, but I do believe there is a larger purpose to all of this. And whatever avenue you find to inspire yourself to greatness, to create, whatever people think about that avenue, I do think it's very worth it because you begin to set yourself and, more importantly, your mind free. And there's nothing better than that.